The girl in the cabin doorway had a rifle aimed straight at his chest. Holt Brennan sat his half-dead horse in the fading light and did not reach for his gun. He was too tired to be afraid anymore. 3 days of running had burned all the fear out of him. There was only the rifle and the woman behind it, and the cold certainty that this was where his luck finally ran out. "You're Holt Brennan," she said. "The outlaw they're hunting for the killing at Wolfhead." He didn't deny it. There wasn't any point. What he didn't know, what neither of them knew yet, was that the man leading the posse hunting him through these hills was this woman's own father, and that before the night was over, all 3 of their lives would hang on a single impossible choice. But let me take you back a few hours, back to how a hunted man came to be sitting in the dark, staring down the barrel of the one woman in the territory who could save him, or hang him. For a year, Holt Brennan had ridden for the Lazy J. It was a small outfit, just a couple of brands clinging to the edge of the Salt Fork Valley. And the men of Salt Fork, the big cattle ring that owned half the territory and the law along with it, had decided those little outfits had to go. It was the old story, grass and water, the big ones crushing the small ones. Holt had fought for the Lazy J harder than any man, and his partner had died for it, gunned down at a waterhole one cold morning. Holt had gotten the man who did it, and after that, there was no place left for him in the world. The Lazy J owners quit the valley, quit cattle, quit Holt. To save their own necks, they told the law they'd never ordered any shooting, and they laid all of it on him. Just like that, he was an outlaw. No hope of justice. No friend anywhere. So now he was running for the Mexican border with a price on his head. On a horse that had nothing left to give. He'd pushed up into the high, lonely country, hunting a hole to crawl into. There was a cabin, he remembered, hidden away in a mountain meadow folks called Burnt Hollow. Quiet water, tall grass, a place a hunted man might rest a day and figure out how to stay alive. He rode in just before sundown, and the moment he saw it, something cold crawled up his spine. The meadow was too still. He sat his horse a long minute, listening. Nothing moved. But he knew, the way a hunted man comes to know things, that he'd ridden into the wrong place. That was when the girl stepped into the doorway, silent as a ghost, with the rifle already up. Her name was Wren Calloway, and she lived alone in these hills. Holt knew of her the way everyone knew of her. A slim, straight girl with a thin, lively face and short, tawny hair gone wild and loose. She hunted deer for a week at a stretch, alone, deep in the wilderness, and she could take care of herself better than most men twice her size. Pretty as she was, that rifle didn't waver an inch. "I wasn't exactly expecting you," she said. "No," Holt answered. "I didn't know you'd taken over this stand. I'd have stayed clear. There's a reward up for you, mister," she said. "A big one." "I figured there might be." He kept his hands easy on the saddle horn. "So I'll just be moving on." "I don't know as you will." She let the rifle swing loose and easy on her arm, almost casual. "I could drop you out of that saddle quick as I'd drop a bird." And he believed her, but Holt Brennan was bone-tired, and bone-tired men lose their tempers. "You won't shoot me," he said. "Not in the back. Anyhow, when I ride out. And you won't get the trigger pulled if you tried it to my face. You'll just hightail it down the mountain and run yipping to the posse to tell them where I'm at. I know you're kind." The words came out ugly, and he saw the color drain out from under her tan. He turned his worn-out horse and walked it slow toward the dark trail above. He turned his back on her, and on her rifle. He honestly didn't much care anymore whether she fired or not. She didn't. But a minute later, he heard hoofbeats behind him. She came up bareback, her hair streaming, and pulled her pony to a stop. For a moment, she didn't seem to know what to say. "You're wrong about me," she said at last, and her voice had gone strange and quiet. "I don't run yipping to turn a posse onto a half-dead man on a head horse. I don't recognize you, and I didn't see you here tonight." She paused. "You're welcome to the cabin, and the feed for your horse." Holt stared at her, and slowly he understood she meant it. "I'm ashamed of how I talk to you," he said. "Forget it. Cut your pony loose, and I'll cook us up something to eat." He'd have been a fool not to take it. They rode back to the little cabin together. But before he climbed down, he stopped and sat his horse and listened to the dark. Wren slid off her pony. Then she saw what he was doing, and she went still, and she listened too. "There's a horse coming up the creek," she said after a moment. Holt's breath went out of him. Because she was right. The sunset light was still hanging on, and at a quarter mile he knew the rider. He knew the man's bald-faced roan, and he knew the way the man sat a saddle. It was Royce Landon. Wren knew him too. He saw it in the way her whole body changed. Royce Landon was a gunfighter. A real one, the kind whose name traveled ahead of him. He'd ridden for one of the little outfits the Salt Fork Ring had run out. Same as Holt. But everyone in the territory knew one other thing about Royce Landon. Royce Landon was in love with Wren Calloway. And that meant trouble. Because Holt didn't know if the gunfighter would be glad to see him, or want him dead. He rode out to meet the man at a walk. They came together in the open meadow, and both of them reined up and sat there, taking each other's measure. Up close, Royce Landon didn't look like a killer at all. He looked like an easygoing young man with a careless grin. But his eyes weren't on Holt. They were sliding past him, to the cabin, to Wren. "What in the hell are you doing here?" Royce said. "I don't guess I ever learned to answer that kind of question," Holt told him. And then Holt understood. Royce Landon had seen Wren standing there, and a man in love isn't a reasonable man. "You got no business being in the same country with her," Royce said. "That's for her to say, not you." Royce's face changed. His eyes flicked to Holt's gun. His hands settled light and ready on his reins, but before either man could move, Wren was there between them, having ridden out so quiet they hadn't heard. "Royce," she said, desperate, "what's the matter with you now?" He looked at her a long moment. Wren, go back. I have to talk to this man, if you fight," she said. "Here, tonight I'll never speak to you again, not ever." The gunfighter went still, and after a minute that didn't sound convinced, he said, all right." But as the three of them rode back toward the cabin in the gathering dark, Holt knew nothing was settled. Royce Landon threw his words over his shoulder, low and hard. "This isn't over, Brennan. We'll have it out. Later on." "That's fine with me," Holt said. Neither of them knew how little time they had left to fight about anything. Inside, Wren lit a pair of old lamps and set about cooking a little of the deer meat she had. Holt brought in wood. Royce rode off to the edge of the meadow and put his horse up a rise. And Holt knew he was taking a look at the back trail down the creek, watching for whatever might be coming. When Royce came back, the meat was ready. But he didn't sit down to eat. He stood in the doorway, his eyes on Wren, and his face had gone tight. "Wren," he said, "I got something to tell you. I'm not asking any questions," she said. "This ropes you in too. I guess it ropes all three of us." She turned, and the firelight caught her face. "Royce, you've been in a fight. I swear I could have killed them all," he said. "I had to gun two of them just to get clear. One through the arm, one off his horse. It was the least I could do if I was going to break loose at all." "Thank you, Royce," Wren said carefully. "But I don't think we have to talk about that now. That's just the trouble. We do." His voice dropped. "I thought I gave them the slip before I made my run up the dry stormy. I didn't. I just found out I didn't. 4 deputies from Salt Fork are riding up the creek. Right now, they're inside a mile. He looked at Holt. They're wanting you, Brennan. And they're wanting me. There was a long, dead silence in the little cabin. Then Wren said, low, you'll have to get out. Both of you. You have to ride. Royce shook his head slowly. This is the first time in my life I ever ran from anything. I couldn't have done it except for you. And even for you. I can't keep on, but if you let them take you back. There was real fear in her face now. She knew, same as they did, what kind of trial waited for a man the Salt Fork ring wanted dead. I can't let them take me back, Royce said. Then stand and fight, Wren. This time I can't fight, either. He looked at her, and something broke in his easy face. One of those deputies is your father. The cabin went silent again. Wren's hand flew to her mouth. Royce, you can't fight him. Of course I can't fight him. But if you won't run. I've run from them once, Royce said. That was once too much. If I do it again, I'll never be able to live with myself. I'll run no more. And Holt Brennan, standing in the corner of that little cabin, felt the trap close around all 3 of them. 2 hunted men who couldn't run, couldn't fight, and out there in the dark, a girl's own father, leading the men who wanted them dead. Wren moved fast toward the door. I'm going out to meet them. I'll turn them back. Royce caught her. Where you going? I'm going to stop my father. He shook his head, gentle now. They know already, by the tracks, that whoever's up here isn't alone. There's 2 sets of horse sign in the sand of the creek. You can't do it, Wren. Real terror came into her face. In heaven's name, what are you going to do? I'll try to bluff them, Royce said. They're scared of me, all except your father. And if they call your bluff, I promise you this. He took her by the shoulders. Whatever breaks tonight, I'll never raise a gun against your father. I swear it. Now you have to be moving out of here. Royce, I can't. If anyone can stop him, it'll work just the opposite, he said. If he finds you here, he'll think you came to meet me. You know how he is. He'll go wild. And you know what'll happen then. All the fight went out of her. She stood there a moment, and then she seemed to gather herself, and her chin came up. All right, Royce, she said. I'll go. She walked to the door, slow. Then she turned, and she looked at Holt, and it was the first time, it seemed, that either of them had remembered he was even there. And you, she said, what will you do? I'm staying, Holt said. For a long moment her eyes held his, and in that moment something passed between them, something that had no name yet and no time to grow. Good luck to you, she whispered, to you both. Then she was gone into the dark. Holt and Royce stood listening until they heard her pony move off up the meadow, away from the creek. Away from the guns, Royce blew out one of the lamps. He tore at a piece of meat, watching Holt as he ate. Holt rolled a cigarette and held out the makings. Royce wouldn't take them. I'm not forgetting, the gunfighter said, that I've still got a bone to pick with you when this is done. Holt let it go, and then they both went quiet, because down at the lower end of the meadow, a pony whinnied, and one of their own horses answered from the dark. There they come, Royce said. Then there was nothing to do but wait, and waiting, Holt would learn, is the hardest thing a man can do. The minutes crawled, no sound came, and slowly Holt understood what was happening out there in the dark. The posse had left their horses at the lower end. They'd come on foot, spreading wide, circling the cabin to cover every door, every side, in case the trapped men tried to break free. He could almost feel them out there, closing in, and as he thought about it, a cold truth settled over Holt Brennan. He realized that he, too, could not throw down a gun on the father of the girl who'd shown him the only kindness he'd known in a year. The girl he'd spoken to for the first time tonight, and who had crawled somehow straight into the center of him. So, There they were. Two men who didn't dare be taken, who seemingly couldn't run and couldn't fight. While out in the meadow, closing slow, came four men they couldn't shoot. Royce sat with his knees crossed, the smoky lamp just over his shoulder, whistling soft through his teeth, calm as a man at his own fireside. Holt pressed against the wall by the door, out of the light. The wait went on so long he thought it would never end. And then it ended all at once. A man stepped into the doorway without a sound. Holt hadn't heard him cross 50 yards of open ground. "Reach," the man said. His voice was low and hard and sharp. His gun was in his hand, and his eyes were on Royce Landon. Royce never stopped that gentle whistling. His eyes drifted up the long length of the man in the doorway, slow until at last he looked him in the eye. His hands stayed locked easy over one knee. He didn't reach. "Hello, Sundown," he said. So this was him, Sundown Calloway, Wren's father. A tall, grim old cattleman with a deputy star and an unbending face like weathered stone. "Royce," said Sundown Calloway, "you're under arrest." Royce's eyes dropped to the gun centered on the third button of his shirt. He seemed to study it. Then his eyes drifted to Holt, and only then did the old man realize a second man was in the room. Sundown wheeled, his gun staying on Royce. Until that second, he hadn't known Holt was there at all. "Malin," he called to somebody outside. "Step here." A man slipped in and stood beside him, his own gun drawn. And the moment Holt saw him, he knew there was no bluffing left to do. It was Dirk Malin, brother of the man Holt had killed in self-defense, the morning they'd jumped him at Wolf Head. Malin's eyes went red the moment they found Holt's face, and his gun came up, steady, leveled square on Holt's belt buckle. There was a quiver in it, a finger itching to pull and square accounts for his brother. "We've got the two of them," Sundown said. "Instead of one, Sundown," Royce said quietly. "This war's over. And you've won. There's nothing left of the little outfits. I can't let you take me in, and you know it. I don't want to fight. I tell you, I don't want to fight. You go your way, and I'll go mine. There's been enough blood spilled over this thing already." Sundown Calloway's face didn't change a hair. "I'm not here for my brand," he said. "I'm here for the law. I come to take you back, and I'm taking you back. It's up to you to reach and make no trouble, or make your play." "It's your play, I think," Royce said. "Have it your own way," Sundown called out into the dark. "Yance, come on." A skinny, nervous deputy named Yance Tibbet edged into the cabin, the kind of hanger-on who'd take any soft job to keep from honest work. "We can't take any chances with these two," Sundown told him. "Get them both covered. Take their guns. Royce first, then Brennan." Yance moved toward Royce, edging around behind Dirk Malin, so Malin could keep his gun pinned on Holt the whole time. Then Royce's voice came up sharp. "Wait, Sundown. Let's talk." "To hell with you," Sundown snapped. "Go in on him, boys," and the room exploded. Holt's eyes were on Royce, and he saw the gunfighter move like dynamite had lifted him. Royce's whole body shot up and to the side. His left arm smashed the little lamp shelf, and the lamp went out of the world as if it had blown apart. In the same instant, Holt was on his knees in the middle of the floor, his own gun somehow in his hand. And then hell broke loose in the pitch black of that cabin. Two reports crashed together, Sundown's and Malin's, fired where the two men had been an instant before. Then it seemed everybody was shooting at once. Gun flashes everywhere, the blasts hammering the close walls like clubs against the skull. Holt knew Malin had been lined up with the doorframe. He lifted his gun toward where he thought the man was, and fired, fast, into the dark. Then, as suddenly as it began, the gunfire stopped. Dead silence. Black as the inside of a grave, the silence hung on and on. Holt held his breath, certain that to move was to die. Somewhere outside, A horse took off on a dead run, downhill away. He'd learn later that was Yance Tibbet, the hanger-on. A piece of his hand shot off, his gun gone, his nerve gone with it. Still Holt waited in the dark. Then, at last, Royce's voice. "Brennan, you there?" "Yeah, I'm here." "You hit? Can you strike a light?" Holt was about to answer when, somewhere in that room, someone moved. In a different place from where Royce's voice had come. His skin went cold. He fumbled a match, struck it on his boot heel, and the light flared up, and what he saw, he would never forget. Everything was wrong the way it always is in the dark. Nobody where you'd think. Royce stood flat against the wall, right where the lamp had been. Dirk Mallon was down in a heap, dead, one leg twisted under him. Yance was gone, and by the door lay another man, face down. But it was the one figure in the room who mattered that froze Holt's heart. Sundown Calloway. He was on one knee, his gun up and ready in his hand. But somehow he'd gotten turned around in the dark, so he no longer faced Royce. He faced the door. And in the instant the match flared, the old man got his bearings, and his gun swung toward Royce Landon. Royce stood unarmed against the wall. Holt had one cartridge left. He should have fired to break the old man's arm. Instead, because he'd seen Wren's eyes, because of the promise Royce had made, Holt did the only thing his heart would let him do. He threw his gun. It caught Sundown Calloway under the ear just as the old man fired. The shot went wide. The match went out, and in the dark, Holt heard a body crumple to the floor. He lit the other lamp with shaking hands. Royce still stood against the wall. There was no gun in his hand. Sundown lay crumpled in the middle of the floor, breathing hard. Mallon was dead, and against the far wall, the man Holt had fired at in the dark. It hadn't been Mallon at all. It was Yance before he ran. Holt's bullet had only caught him in the leg. Royce had done all the rest. One man through the arm, one off his horse. Mallon dead. And he'd never once raised his gun toward Sundown Calloway. He'd kept his promise. Holt knelt and took the old man's gun away. Sundown was already stirring, coming back to himself, a welt rising under his ear. "We've done it now," Holt said. "Once maybe, we could have taken a jury trial. Not now. It's the wild bunch for us both, from here out." "Yes," Royce said. And then Holt looked at the gunfighter, standing white against the wall, and a strange thing came over him. "You still figure to pick that bone with me?" "Yes," Royce said. "Then let's get it over with." "I'm ready," Royce said. "Then draw." "You draw," Royce said, looking him dead in the eye. "I'll be there. Pull if you're not too yellow." Holt's hand dropped to his gun. He drew and didn't fire. Royce never moved. His hand stayed in his pocket. "You're yellow," Royce said. "Why don't you shoot?" And then Holt saw it. Royce slid slowly down the wall, the packbox catching him, his head slumping forward. Holt caught him by the shoulders before he hit the floor. He stripped back Royce's brush jacket. The right sleeve was soaked through. The man had been shot clean through the arm. He couldn't have made a draw to save his life. Couldn't have laid a finger on his gun. Yet he dared Holt to draw. Taunted him into it. So Holt would shoot and end the thing between them clean, over a girl. Holt stood there in the lamplight, looking down at him, and something turned over in his chest. He bound up Royce's arm with strips of his own shirt and tied Yance's leg and got Sundown Calloway up and moving. The old man, sullen and grim, said not one word. Holt picked out the two best horses for himself and Royce, gave the posse the worn-out ones, started Sundown down the trail, leading the dead man and the whimpering Yance. Sundown looked at him once in the lamplight before he went. Holt couldn't read what was in that hard old face. Then he went back into the cabin, knowing they hadn't long to get moving. And Wren was there. She'd come back. She was kneeling by Royce, rebandaging his arm fresh and clean, the way it should have been done. Royce had told her what happened, Holt guessed, because she wasn't talking, and she seemed to know it all. Holt stood and watched her work. As broken and bloody as that night had been, it seemed to him he'd never seen anything as quiet and lovely as that girl, here in this place that still smelled of gun smoke. Tears were running down her face the whole time she worked, and somehow Holt blamed himself and Royce both that this girl should ever have to cry. When she'd finished, Royce tried to kiss her, and she wouldn't let him. She just said, soft, "Not now, not now." And Holt understood. Whatever Royce Landon felt, it wasn't going to be Royce. He stepped out into the night air, and it tasted fresh and clean, and all at once he felt like a new man. He had no future, a defeated past. He was hopelessly outlawed, no friend anywhere, no more than Royce. But standing there under the stars, a thing he couldn't explain came over him. He knew, somehow, that one day, all the accounts would be squared, that the Salt Fork ring, with all its greed and spite, would be broken at last, and those who'd opposed it would be back in the saddle. He knew that he would come back, and he knew that someday, though there wasn't a reason in the world to believe it, he would win this girl. When Holt and Royce took to the saddle at last, Wren walked out with them, for Royce had given in by then. He saw his only chance was to ride for it, until his arm healed. "We're on our way for a little while," Holt told her. "We may be gone some time, but in the end we'll be back." "I hope so," Wren said. He turned in the saddle as they made the bend of the up trail and waved. She stood there in the dark, watching after them, and she waved back. But Royce rode facing straight ahead, very pale. Holt didn't think he believed they'd ever come back at all. They climbed high into the granite hills as the first gray light came up. And somewhere in that climb, Royce looked over at Holt, peculiar. "You feel good, don't you?" he said. "Yes," Holt said. "You think you're coming back. You think this Salt Fork bunch can be beat." "Yes, you're gone on Wren," he accused. And Holt answered yes to that too. "You realize Wren's my girl? Yet you think you can take a girl from me? Maybe I can." Royce didn't seem to know what to make of that. "I'm the better gunfighter," he said, sizing Holt up all over again. "A better cowboy. A better man with a bronc." "Yes," Holt said. "Yet you think you can get my girl, Royce. That's just exactly what I'm going to do." It seemed a strange thing to be saying. Holt was an outlawed man without a dime or a hope, riding off a range because he'd been hunted off it, with small chance of even getting clear. But there in that cold dawn, dog-dirty and unshaven and weary to the bone, he knew that what he'd told the man was true. Royce studied him a long while. Then at last, he said, "Maybe you and me better ride together a while, until things clear up." "All right, boy," Holt said. And as the first full daylight broke over the high country, and the wild badlands opened out below them, hard days waiting ahead, in Holt Brennan's mind there was only a picture. A slim, straight girl with wind-blown tawny hair, standing in a cabin door, watching after him in the dark. And he knew, sure as the sun coming up, that he was coming back.